Hi, this is Joy Robertson. As many of you know, I love food. I love finding new restaurants. I love trying new dishes. And most of all, I love talking to the many great restaurateurs and entrepreneurs we have here in the Ozarks and beyond. I love hearing their stories, and that's what this podcast is all about, learning more about them and their journey. So join me as we savor the Ozarks. Ever wonder what it's like to be a chef in the White House? Seriously, I'm continuing now my conversations recorded at the 2024 National Restaurant Show in Chicago. This one is a doozy. Okay, the man you're about to meet is White House chef Guy Mitchell. If you ever wondered what went on behind the scenes at the White House kitchens, well, here you go. Besides White House chef, Guy was also executive chef for the Philadelphia Eagles. He's worked as a chef for the Academy Awards on movie sets. He did a stint at New York's Waldorf Astoria. But now, as part of the White House Chefs Tour, he and other chefs travel the country hosting fundraising events and such, entertaining guests with presidential memorabilia and stories that will blow your mind and leave you laughing out loud. Here is my conversation with White House chef Guy Mitchell. Okay, I think this is day 3 at the National Restaurant Show, and I finally caught up with my bestie, Guy Mitchell, Chef Guy Mitchell of the White House Chef Tour. I met you when I was working with Food Channel the first time I came to the show.
That's right.
And I couldn't help but notice the Presidential Food Service, the White House, all over your jacket.
You look like an astronaut, right?
A little bit.
Say that to me. Are you an astronaut, or I get people? Did you rent that outfit for something? You know, and I go, I'm sorry to say that this is the real White House jacket. So they laugh, and then we go from there. Then everybody settles in.
Well, that's what, when I saw you the first time, I'm like, okay, so what do you mean you're the White House? Are you the chef? But you're one of the chefs who's worked in the White House, but you are part of the White House Chef Tour, which is...
Well, I'll tell you a little bit of the White House, how it works. There's a Navy mess, and there's 55 chefs that Eisenhower and 52 set up. So they're underneath the Oval Office, and these are the chefs that cook for the president, travel with the president, and feed a lot of people at the White House every day, up to 300 to 400 people a day. So when he's going to Arkansas, or he's going to Florida, or he's going over to Europe, he'll take chefs in advance teams in C-10 airplanes with the cars and the helicopters, and then they start to get ready for when he comes over to feed him, because you can't take the president to a restaurant because of the threat, and you can't have anything shipped to where he's at because of the threat. After 9/11, everything is restricted from the food safety part of protecting the President of the United States. So what we do is we have logistics people go out and shop, plain clothes, that are shopping and picking up everything, because you don't know what could be bad, what could be good, and they're communicating with WACA, and WACA, White House Communication Network, handles the food through the Secret Service, and they are the ones that oversee, with Homeland Security, to protect the President of the United States. Then on the other side of the White House, there is Christine Comfortford, excellent chef, been there for 30 years, and she is the executive chef for the administration. And what happens is she prepares the state dinners, or the daily food for the president upstairs in the residence. And Mrs. Biden loves to cook upstairs too. She loves to cook. Plus she cooks down at her place in Delaware. So it's a whole big mecca of food plus safety plus protection. So what I was given the chance to do from President Obama was to go out and tell our stories with what we can say about the White House Food Distribution Center and how we work, and tell the funny stories as we traveled with the presidents throughout the world. And some of them are very, 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 very funny stories. And, you know, like when you're going and the president's staying in a hotel and he says he wants a bacon, lettuce, and tomato sandwich, and we're in New York City at the Waldorf Astoria, and he sends us uptown to a diner or a restaurant to get it, we have to get it. So sometimes we would go up and the doors, everything would be lit up, the cars. You walk through the door and there's a lady there, looks like Flo from Mel's Diner, and you go, we're here with the presidential, and she would scream, scream, "Pete, the cops are here," and everybody would start running out the door. But Pete, the kitchen guys would run because they think it's the police or something, a bus, and we just want a bacon, lettuce, and tomato sandwich for the president. So as we come downstairs, the guy, Pete, has locked himself in the walk-in box, and we're trying to get him out because he's scared. He thinks he's going to jail. And we just want to say, it's really funny, some of the stories. So we finally talked him into coming out of the locked box and making our bacon, lettuce, and tomato sandwich. And he said to me, "Who's the president?" And I said, President Bush. He said, "I love President Reagan." And I said, "Okay. Make the sandwich and we're out of here."
Yeah.
Then it's called shuffling. The Secret Service surround you with the sandwich as we're going down the road with the sandwich to the Waldorf Astoria to take it upstairs.
Do you taste the sandwich first to make sure nobody gets poisoned?
Yeah.
Why do you tell them it's for the president? Because it seems to me that it would almost make it more dangerous if you told them that.
Well, if we tell him it's for the president, then we're standing right next to him and tasting the bacon, the tomato. You're watching him make it. Like when President Obama would go to Five Guys, we would go in the back, he would come in the front, we'd get the French fries and the burgers, but everybody has to keep their hands out of their pockets, and if they have to go to the bathroom, we have to go with them. We tell them to, because it only takes a second, pull something out, put something in. So it's really part of the Secret Service, part of the White House chefs that are Navy chefs that have the highest clearance because they worked on nuclear submarines, so they have their clearance to be able to advance to the White House. In other words, if you're on a destroyer with a nuclear device or you're on an aircraft carrier with a missile, you have your clearance. And there's the chefs that advance to the White House. That's how it's set up. It's just no Navy chef on the base. They have to be, their clearance has to be the highest. And usually anybody that's around the president, you have to be cleared. And it's an expensive adventure because they're going back to when you were 5 years old in school. Where was your father born? Where was your mother born? Grandma, grandpa, your neighbor next door, what did he do for a living? They do a whole investigation. So when that gets to that point, then you advance to the White House.
Fascinating story. I mean, and I know you can only tell so much, but you can tell me anything. I want to hear all the dish. But
there you go.
What administrations have you worked under?
So it was really funny when I was a young chef at a country club in Langhorne, Pennsylvania. There was a statuette that took me to meet Ronald Reagan. And when he was in the office, I cooked chicken marsala right in the office. And she was a big constituent of his and helped raise money and got votes in Pennsylvania. So she drove me down. So that was my first thing, because he went, "Nancy, get up here. The chef is here." And she would come up and he went, "This is lovely." And he ate the chicken marsala. Well, I was a young chef. And then after that, I was executive chef in Philadelphia at the Hilton Hotel, and Gerald Ford stayed there. So I'm showing my age now, right? So Gerald Ford I fed, and when I made his food, the Secret Service agent was there, and he said to me, "I have to stay with you. If you go to the bathroom, I have to go with you. And make sure your hands are clean." And he had a filet mignon. And then when I went to the Montauk Yacht Club out in the Hamptons, it's a high-end club, I worked for David Rockefeller. I took my apprenticeship at the Waldorf Astoria. David Rockefeller wanted me to come to the yacht club. He said to me, "Chef, I want to talk to you. I got something important to say." And I said, "Yes, sir." He said, "Henry Kissinger's coming in." So Henry Kissinger landed his helicopter. David Rockefeller landed his helicopter. They both came over to me and they said, "We have to talk to you." And Kissinger goes, "Chef, this is a big secret. Whatever I say to you now must not leave the room." And I said, "Yes, Mr. Kissinger, my lips are sealed." And he went, "First of all, I am a Jew and I love your lobster bisque. And I am not allowed shellfish. If my wife finds out, I am a dead man." Now, he just passed away.
You can tell it now.
Love the guy.
Oh, really?
David Rockefeller said, "I love your lobster bisque too, chef, but this is big. It goes no further." And I said, "Yes, sir." They both kissed me on the cheek. Kissinger goes, "Put 2 gallons on the helicopter and throw some bread on." And I said, "Yes, sir." David Rockefeller, 2 gallons and bread. And he said, Kissinger goes, I want to see you at the White House. I think I have something that could work out for you. I went down 2 months after that. I became a training chef at Navy Command Headquarters to show the White House chefs. And ever since, I've been traveling with all the chefs that have retired from the Navy Command, a Navy White House mess. And President Obama said, we want you to take the show on the road. So we go around and we raise a lot of money for cancer, children with needs, Heart Association. So we do a lot. So if anybody is interested, it's www.thewhitehousechefs.com, and we raise a lot of money for their needs. It's a show.
Yeah.
We bring memorabilia. We talk about food. We cook food. But the most important is to tell the funny stories.
Well, that's so anyone listening to this could reach out and bring Guy Mitchell to the Ozarks and have a nice fundraiser and a lot of fun to go with it. And the stories, which was your favorite administration? Which one was the most fun to cook with and eat with?
I would say the most, and all of them, first of all, when you cook for the president, they love you because you're feeding them, and they're funny. President Bush would come downstairs and he would want an ice cream cone with chopped up Oreo cookies sprinkled on it. We'd dip the ice cream cone in the Oreo cookies, and he would sit on the kitchen counter, and it would.
This was George H.W.
Yeah, right. This is right, and he would say, "How's your mom? How's everybody doing?" Oh yeah, they were just funny, and then the Bush family became pretty close because I cooked for 41 and then 43, and and they loved what we did, and then we went down to their library in Texas and seen the library, which is really in the history of. I became so involved in the history of presidents and how they started, where they came from, the kind of foods that they like. It really helped with a career for me to at least get out of the kitchen as far as the hotels and the restaurants and the country clubs where you're working Saturdays and holidays. So it worked out good for me to have a good family life, so I could be with my family and my grandchildren and travel and on and on and on. But today at the show, I represent a lot of products: Gunther Wilhelm knives, this new chef company that does our chef coats, L'Univore Chefs.
Right.
What they do is they make our uniforms for us, and they put everything on, and they supply us as we're traveling throughout the world. And if people hire us, we set up a little store. We set up a little store so people can buy aprons, knives from the White House, hats, and patches.
Okay.
So it's like a little tiny store on the side after the show, and it's like a souvenir shop. So everything had to be cleared by the White House consul, because there's some things that we can talk about because of safety, and some things that we tell that are very, very funny, and it goes on and on and on. It's like a show. And there's not too many that do it throughout the world. There's chefs that do demonstrations. There were chefs at the White House, and they're all very, very good. But with Woody Rayburn, Chief Petty Officer Woody Rayburn, and we're like Laurel and Hardy of the old movie industry that do funny shows and funny stories, because people want to hear the funny stories.
All day.
Dick Cheney wanted a lot of bacon on top of his Cobb salad, and I said, well, your doctor in the back said you can't have it, and he said, well, tell him I want a lot of it. So I went back and I chopped the bacon and put it on the Cobb salad and went to take it out to him, and the doctor grabbed my arm and he said, Chef, that's not a good idea. And I went, well, sir, he's in charge of waterboarding at Guantanamo Bay. I'm going to give him the bacon.
I think you probably made a wise decision.
Right.
I was about to ask you, were there dietary needs? Of course there were.
Yeah.
But were there times that you had to say, look, no more McDonald's for you, or whatever? Yeah. Because wasn't Clinton, you were there for Clinton, right?
I was there with Clinton. I was in Africa.
I think, and of course I grew up in Arkansas too, but I think he's vegan now or something.
Yeah.
Back in the day, he was kind of
He was in Africa, and he was 500 miles out of Johannesburg, and he wanted a pizza. So they had to fly the helicopters into town so he could have pizza in Africa, which is unheard of. But when a president asks for something and you can get it, it's best that you get it. If not, I'm going to be at McDonald's, which is a good job, but I'm going to be standing there instead I'm at the White House. So, their demands are what they want. That's why they're surrounded with so much security. And as they travel through the world, they're protected, but we have to feed them. And that's a massive airlift operation as they move on and on and on. So I was very lucky. I think I did my job good when David Rockefeller pulled me into the yacht club, and then I met Henry Kissinger, and on and on and on. So I was with Donald Trump, I was with Joe Biden, and they're all excellent presidents. And then they say to me, "Who are you for?" And I said, "I'm always for you, sir." Maybe that's why I'm still at the White House.
Maybe that's a you're get along kind of guy.
That's right. So that worked out really good. But they're all, and their families are great, and the dogs are protected by the Secret Service, and Sonny and Bo, they were here in Chicago a lot with the president. So it was very fortunate for me to have the opportunity to train the chefs. And that's why we go on and on and on. And I meet people like you, which you know how much I love you and what you do and how you are in the industry of entertaining and television, and that's why we got along so good.
I think honestly you should do your own podcast. You could literally every day for probably a year tell a story.
Right.
Maybe I'll just call you every now and again if I have a question, and we'll just record it.
I'm there. Like if you're on the air and you say, "I'm going to call the chefy and let me see what and then they called me chefy at the White House, Mrs. Bush, Barbara Bush, when Putin came to Kenny Bunkport. She kind of was looking at him funny. He was in the kitchen asking for a cookie, and I was standing in the kitchen, and she came in with her pearls and her pajamas, and she said, what's going on in here, chef? I said, "Ma'am, he's asking for a cookie, and I don't know what that is." And she said, "Putin, what's a cookie?" And he had a pair of shorts on, like he bought him at Wildwood, New Jersey. And she said, "What is a kookie?" And he put his, and 2 KGB officers were right next to him. And he's going, "Kookie, kookie, kookie." And I went, "Maybe it's a cookie." And she said, "Oh, he wants a cookie. Speak American," yelling at him. And I'm going, "Oh my God, this guy could put a missile right up through my butt into the kitchen." Right? Yeah. So I go like this. I go, "He wants a cookie. And she says, "Well, he's seen the cookies for the kids on the tour. Give him a cookie." And she says, "Do you want vodka without her milk?" And I said, "Oh my God." And she goes, "Chefy, just keep it down. There's a lot of people here." So she walked out of the kitchen, and I took one step forward. She turned around, came back, and said, "Tell him to put a pair of pants on too."
Oh, wow.
Look it up if you have to. Putin and Kenny Bunkport. They had a summit. The stories go on and on, right, kiddo?
Do you think maybe you could talk to him and we could settle things down? Bring him a cookie, guy.
I know. I just got to bring him a cookie. He'll remember me. I know that, but from Kenny Bunkport. But listen, everybody in the world now, we just want peace. We want everybody to love each other. Like, you know how we are. We just want things to go good, and sometimes it doesn't. But I'm sure we always go on, and we're here every year to see you, your lovely daughter, and your friends. I think it's just a fun time when you always come to see me.
I absolutely love it. And the stories, I just would love for you truly to come visit the Ozarks and maybe come up with a fundraiser, a tour somewhere where people could hear your stories and ask the questions and eat the food and what have you. And I could talk to you all day. You've got stuff to do. But once again, you go to, what is the website? White House Chef Tour?
They can go to Chef Guy Mitchell, or they can go to www.thewhitehousechefs.com, and they can see what we do, hear what we do, and there's some tapes on there. And then, you can look at the memorabilia, and then, if they want to hire us to come out, we raise a lot of money for people in need. And anything and everything, and it goes on. And some of the country clubs, we go back 5, 6, 7 times because they have 3,000 members, and then you can only get 400 people in the ballroom. So the other members get upset. So that's why we're going back to Phoenix, Arizona next week to Talking Rock Country Club for the 4th time.
For the 4th time. Right. Well, I hope you come to a country club in Springfield soon. Guy Mitchell, White House Chef Tour, thank you so much.
Love you, honey. Thank you so much. And nothing but the best for you and what you do, because you know how much I appreciate everything in our friendship through all these years.
Yeah.
Right?
I love it. Thank you so much.
Thanks.